Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of the new Northeast Stephen Sondheim Theatre podcast. We're calling it A Little Night Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you very much for joining us on our first debuting episode. Joining me today, we have our wonderful fundraising manager, Emily Parker.
Hello.
And we have our assistant company manager, David Parker.
Hello there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 7 weeks, every Monday night, we're going to be posting up a new episode of A Little Night Podcast on our social networking platforms. And each week is going to take a different theme. So we've got things such as, we've got Ladies Who Podcast coming in a few weeks' time. That's going to be Emily and Anna taking over the reins and doing an episode. We've got Manacle Mains, Battle of the Shows, and we've got the Steve Awards at the end as well. We've got all sorts coming up for you over the next 7 weeks. But episode 1 today, I don't know if anybody, are you guys familiar with Desert Island Discs?
Well, I am now. I wasn't about a week ago.
It's been going for a long time. I think it's Radio 4. Radio 4 do a show called Desert Island Discs, where they bring on celebrity guests, and those celebrity guests present their 12 records that they would like on a desert island with them. So if they were stranded for the rest of their lives, what 12 records would they take? So we've decided to take that idea, but we don't want any copyright issues, so we're doing desert island shows. So that'll probably pass copyright, that's fine.
We hope.
And our guests today are going to present 3 of their favourite shows and soundtracks from shows that they would love to be stranded on an island with. Not that anybody wants to be stranded on an island, but if you were, I imagine a musical soundtrack would be the least of your worries, to be honest. But we're just going to use it as it's just a hypothetical. So we're going to hand over to Emily Parker first, who's going to present her first show. Just the one show. We'll alternate it.
Okay, so I'd first like to say that I'm glad we didn't have to pick 12 shows. I'm glad it was just the 3. Okay, I'm starting off with a Sondheim. I'm going to go with a classic, a very popular, has had a movie adaptation. I'm going for Into the Woods for my first one. On a personal level, I've done Into the Woods twice. So I think listening to that score, there's a lot of memories there for me. And it is pure genius. All of Sondheim's work is pure genius, but to intermingle all of these well-known fairy tales into one coherent story which makes sense, and then the idea of adventuring after the happily ever after in Act 2, I think is just a very relatable ideology that we can relate to these fairy tales. And
especially if you're away on a desert island, there's some sort of fantasy to that.
I definitely don't want to be thinking about my desert island. I want to be thinking about Cinderella,
Away with the fairies.
So, away with the
Cinderella
fairies.
on a desert island.
Yeah, I don't think that would be me.
I don't think she'd fit into that setting.
Which part did you play? Which 2 parts did you play?
I played the witch both times.
Ah, tremendous. So it's an opportunity to learn every other part to it, because obviously it's going to be on repeat.
Oh yeah, of
it's
course.
Interesting that you played the witch, because in the coming weeks there's going to be further discussion about Into the Woods. It's quite an interesting one. I think there's one of our other episodes is going to be covering that. Yeah, I like that one.
I think it's probably one of the more well-known Sondheims as well. I'd argue that Sweeney Todd was up there with the movie adaptation that they did. But definitely, I think Into the Woods is one of the more relatable Sondheim shows, because there's definitely many abstract.
Yeah, it was that period where you just knocked out show after show, and 80s and throughout the 80s, hit after hit.
Yeah, hit after hit.
Okay,
what a man!
So, Into the Woods. Into the Woods is the first one. First show. You've kicked off with a big one there. Okay, yeah. David, show number 1 to be stuck on a desert island with, what would it be?
Show number 1. Well, I'll tell you, Callum, it's not going to be my favourite one. My favourite one is Sunday in the Park with George. having directed it in 2018, unfortunately, that came with the burden of having to play the music over and over and over and over in my car. There was literally for months, I didn't listen to anything else. I played it forward, backwards, round in circles, everything. So I've played it to death. And basically, if I never hear Sunday again, it'll be too soon. However,
No.
but
Wow.
I am,
That's a strong statement.
That's
a strong statement about a musical, which a lot of NEST have a very personal attachment to.
Massive soft spot. I appreciate that. Being on a desert island, obviously you do want comfort in the familiar as well, though. But having listened to it so much,
what you're going to say.
I probably know it off by heart anyway. So that could probably be my fourth show, and I would just be able to sing it in my head round and round. On a desert island, well, obviously you want something uplifting, something entertaining, something that reminds you of what there is to live for, the purpose of being alive. A little drop of air.
A little clue there.
That was off the top of my head. That was
Wow.
That was not in my notes. That in fact, this is going to fall short now. So I was going to say, uplifting, entertaining, something to remind you what to live for. So Sweeney Todd. No, it's not Sweeney Todd. It is, of course, Company. I'm not too familiar with Company. Must be said. I've seen it once. I know some numbers out of it. And I mean, that's probably sacrilege being as part of Northeast Stephen Sondheim. But, maybe it's an opportunity for me to catch up with the cultural phenomenon that is Company.
Interesting.
There we go. Company is show number 1 for David.
Interesting.
Okay. Emily, show number 2.
Well, David seems to have taken quite a happy approach to this exercise. He wants to be motivated on this desert island, whereas I think I want to wallow in sadness.
He just wants a nice, easygoing soundtrack for when he's climbing up the trees to get the coconuts,
I guess. Whereas
and
I
you're
will
thinking,
be
all life's at
climbing
an end.
in
That's
the
it.
shoreline. Yeah.
Talking to a football with a smiley face drawn on it.
I hope I have something
What
more
film's
than a
that
football.
from? That's a film.
Castaway.
Where
Is
that?
that not Castaway?
Castaway.
Absolutely.
That's it, yeah.
Wilson.
Wilson. Maybe if me and David are on the same deserted island, we can share, depending on what mood we're in. Because
2 for 1.
mine are depressing. Yeah, 2 for 1.
Yeah, then you get 6 soundtracks.
Wow. I hope you haven't picked the same.
Blasting out of separate caves.
Yeah. So, yeah. I picked Passion. I don't know Passion very well at all. I know a few songs here and there. I've listened through it a few times. But on a desert island, I'm going to have loads of time to dissect that. I'm going to have loads of time to learn the story and the songs. And I think the score is gorgeous. I think it's very heart-wrenching, the whole idea of it, and the times that I've listened through it, I've definitely cried. Here I am on the beach, wallowing in self-pity. But I just think that cast of that original Broadway cast, Donna Murphy, everyone in that show was just amazing, and I would love to sit and have time to dissect that, because I don't have enough time. But on a desert island with 3 soundtracks, I've got all the time in the world, So
yeah.
Oh wait, this is soundtracks. I thought that this was the actual cast was going to be with you performing.
No, you're not having a party you're not having a party in the Galapagos. It's like no. If you're deserted on, it's the same as Desert Island Discs. You've only just got that, and we're 10 minutes in. Well, we're in now.
I thought I was going to be chilling with Neil Patrick Harris.
If you could take a soundtrack with you.
So I have access to electricity then, right?
Or a wind-up record player.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of effort.
A soundtrack on a record, and you've got to stand there winding it for ages. That's what you had to do.
I think this analogy,
I don't
if
know
you
why
think about it too much, it starts falling apart relatively quickly.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm saying, "Oh, that's what we had to do." When I
Oh,
don't
that's
know,
what we had to
I've just
do.
seen it. I've just seen it on TV. Saw it on
Yeah.
Antiques Roadshow once with Fiona Bruce. It was great. We just
Wow.
wound it up.
Classic.
Okay,
An
so
afternoon classic.
now we've established that David is not going to be like chilling out with Bette Midler on a beach. What's your show number 2, David?
Well, you'll be happy to hear that we have picked entirely different shows.
Oh, thank gosh.
Yeah, 4 entirely different shows. Not prearranged at all. This was not prearranged. So I've got my one musical for the uplifting entertainment side of things, and as you know, everything that you could possibly want in like out of a musical, and that is efficiency. So my second choice is Merrily We Roll Along, because basically you get 2 for 1. You can watch it forwards and then you can watch it backwards, and it's a completely different experience both times. So yeah, and
Right.
again, it's another one that I've only seen the once. I've performed a few numbers out of it, and I was thoroughly taken by the music. Absolutely love it. Opening Doors is absolutely classic. And yeah, I feel that with it being one of Sondheim's more autobiographical pieces of work, it would provide a really nice insight into the man himself, like his thought processes and his history, and maybe after however long we were away on this desert island, you come back knowing every line and verse and layer of Merrily We Roll Along. Maybe you grow to sort of know the man a bit better. So that's definitely my second choice. Merrily We Roll Along. Absolutely.
Wow.
There you go. That's show number 2 for David, and then Emily, is it your third one?
Yeah. So I strayed away from Sondheim for this one.
Playing a risky game.
Yeah. But to stray away from Sondheim, where else can you go apart from Jason Robert Brown? The new up-and-coming genius, really, I would say. Has a lot of musicals under his belt already. At the ripe old age of 50. I think he's 50. And I chose The Bridges of Madison County because I think it's a very underrepresented show. I think probably the castability in amateur dramatics is not as easy because it's very much an adult-based show. You couldn't really have 7-year-olds running around playing these characters. But the score is gorgeous. There's a beautiful cello motif that kind of runs through the show. And it's just a show about sacrifice. Again, I'm going to be wallowing on the beach, crying to this, just humming the cello line.
At every point during your time on this desert island, you're going to be sobbing.
Yeah.
At no point will you be uplifted while you're there.
Absolutely not. Maybe a bit into the woods, a little bit, but then they'd
there's a
die.
couple of numbers in Into the Woods that maybe you could.
See,
But probably not.
I've never heard of. Well, no, I have. I've heard of Bridges of Madison County, but only as a film, not as a. I didn't realize that it was actually a musical.
Meryl Streep was in the film, right?
So is that do you know if that's a film version of the musical that does it have songs in it, or is it just an adaptation?
No. So I'm pretty sure that the film was adapted from the book, and then the musical was also adapted from the same book. So they're not very much the same, but the same, right? They were based on the same book, but they are not linked.
They're the same, but they're not the same.
Exactly.
That's what we can definitively say on the first episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, and then David, finally, your third show?
My third show, yeah. Well, funnily enough, I also strayed away from Sondheim. Look as it.
Surprise.
So the last few months, at time of recording, we've all been on a bit of a figurative desert island, really, during the pandemic, during the lockdown.
We don't talk about coronavirus on this podcast, David.
At all.
This is a Rona-free podcast.
Rona-free. Well, okay, so I'll just talk about the figurative desert island. And fairly early on, John Krasinski in his SGN lockdown project gathered the Hamilton cast together to perform for One Lucky Girl on his YouTube channel. And I've personally had Hamilton on repeat ever since that came up. I got slightly obsessed with it. So I feel like I've already been there, done that. So once again, it's not going to be Hamilton. Surprise, surprise.
Another stray
curveball.
Clue there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, curveball.
So my pick for my third option is going to be Newsies. Because it's about a dreamer who wants to be far away from where he is. If you're not familiar with it, it's about New York at the turn of the century. Turn of the 1900. We've had another turn of the century since. So 1900s New York, about some paper boys, and they are sort of really, at the mercy of this corrupt news oligarch sort of thing. There's a palpable message that really sort of resonates today. The powerful people are in charge. I mean, it's pick any time in history, really. It's a tale as old as time. So it's a powerful story about a guy who's a dreamer who wants to be far away from where he is, but he realizes that there's a job to be done, so he sticks around with his mates, and they fight this corrupt and powerful news media company who want to reduce their wages, inevitably sort of putting them all in the workhouse or whatever the New York equivalent was. And you never know, it might just, being the theme so resonating so much with modern society, it may just remind me that, hey, maybe a desert island isn't such a bad place to be after all. And even if there's times when I don't feel that way, I've got songs that, will carry me away. Plus, there's also tap dancing and acrobatics, which everybody can appreciate.
But you wouldn't be able to see the tap dancing or acrobatics.
Even better, just make up my own routines.
You won't be able to do any. You won't be able to do any tap dancing yourself
because it'd be sand.
You don't get the sound on the sand.
That's very interesting. I'd have to do a shuffle, maybe.
You tapped your feet off the coconut trees.
Strap coconuts to your feet. There's got to be a way around it. I've got time to figure it out, man. These are insignificant details.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, there you go. Those are your 3 desert island shows from David and Emily. Anybody interested what mine would be?
I'm very interested, especially since we have 10 minutes left.
just a flat out no from Emily. No, not really.
No, I'm interested.
Well, there'd only be one Sondheim in my 3.
Wow.
And that would be Sunday in the Park with George.
Interesting.
Because I just love it. I could listen to it all day. So that'd be my chill out.
There was a time when I could listen to it all day.
Yeah, that'd be my relax and unwind musical.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other ones would be Finding Neverland.
Interesting.
Written by Gary Barlow and Elliot Kennedy. That's like the inner child. That's my inner child there.
Big Gary Barlow fan, yeah.
Yeah, and a big Gary fan. And then my third one, because I just love laughing, it would be Book of Mormon.
Classic.
I just love that. It just, there's no point since that has come out where I've not listened to some of those songs and just laughed. Every time I listen to it again and again, I just howl. So I think that would have to be, it would keep me going, that one.
Keeping it clean, what's your favorite song from it?
I don't know if I should repeat that. On the podcast. I nearly reprimanded it the first
That
instance,
one.
but the thing with that musical is it's one of those where you laugh at it for all the wrong reasons. Because the idea of being able to laugh at something like that is people say stuff that's so outlandish and so ridiculous that you laugh because it's a sensitive thing. But
Yeah.
I remember I went to the release of that show. I was at the press release for that.
Wow.
And I remember I was sat there and there was all these journalists and critics on the row in front of me. And they just started singing Hazadiga Ibawai on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to, it got to a particular line in the show and it was a really, really bad and sort of sensitive line. And I just laughed at the top of my voice, but I shouted it and projected this laughter so loudly. And all the critics on the row in front of me just turned around and scowled. So yeah, those would be my three. So, okay. With that, which musical would you least want to take with you? If you, we can stray away from Sondheim as well. If there was a musical where you go, I just wouldn't want to take that with me. I think David's already sort of expressed that with Sunday in the Park. He's had enough. He's had enough of that. He's done.
Well, it's more the point that I probably just wouldn't need it with me because those songs are still going round in my head. Hot Up Here. It's never got out of my head.
And putting it together.
Well, that one was never in there in the first place. There's far too many lines.
Yeah, it was in mine. The last minute and 10 seconds of putting it together is something that was just stuck in my head for weeks afterwards. And I think that's probably because when we did it, it took that long to sort of get to grasps with it that it just wouldn't go away after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it haunts me.
If you were to pick one, Emily, well, if you were to go, listen, I just couldn't listen to that while I was on a desert island. And it doesn't mean that you don't like it or you hate it, or you think it's a bad musical, just not you.
Well, I think I would probably go with something along the lines of like Annie or The Sound of Music, something that's like a scar in my childhood of like
Oliver for me.
Everyone did it. Like 3 people a season, like 3 different groups.
Yep.
And that's all you went to go see.
Yep.
Like I just don't need it anymore. Ever. Not on a desert island, not safe in my home. I just don't need it. Ever.
Just don't need it. Yeah, it would be Oliver for me. And actually, there's another version of Oliver. It's called Olivia.
Oh, really?
Goodness.
For primary schools, there's actually a show called Olivia.
Oh, you're being serious?
It's like the equivalent of Oliver. Honestly, Google it. It's somewhere online. I remember being about 9 and watching the guys in the year above me do it when I was at primary school, and it's called Olivia.
So it's not just a gender-reversed version of Oliver. It's actually a completely different.
I think it's probably pretty much the same show, but there was some differences in it that I remember. From my experience with Oliver, there was definitely some differences in there. And then the one I did when I got to that age, it was called Uncle Crumble's Mad Machine.
Wow. Is that
I didn't like that show. Yeah, that show was awful when I was 10. So how do you think I feel about it now? I'm 23.
Wow.
It's a hell of a title, must be said.
Uncle Crumble's Mad Machine.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm intrigued already.
Seems hard to market.
It was a Greek tragedy for like 10-year-olds. And it wasn't, no, the story wasn't tragic. It's just my opinion of it was tragic.
Oh.
It was actually supposed to be quite a happy show.
It sounds it. Uncle Crumble.
And I've never been less happy. And that's saying something. Because I've done Oliver. If you were to pick another one, David, what would you go with?
I mean, I'm, sticking to the themes that I've discussed already. I think that Sweeney Todd would have to be there. I do love it, and I think that it is probably Sondheim's masterpiece. But yeah, you definitely want something uplifting. If so,
you can't be doing with the sad musicals on a desert island. You couldn't take Ghost with you.
Yeah. But then, Les Mis crossed my mind, and I was like, no, I'd love having Les Mis, and that's probably, everybody died, so that's...
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, apologies.
Spoiler alert. Only, yeah.
But
only a recent spoiler.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's any musical that you could definitively say, no, I absolutely would not have that with me, because maybe if you did, then you would have
Yeah, there is.
you'd listen
Oliver.
to. Well, maybe for you
It
guys,
sounds
but
like
if you listen to it time after time, maybe you'd gain a new appreciation for it, and it would come to remind you of that time that you spent on the desert island.
Actually, Joseph.
Yeah, now you mention it. Yeah, I tried watching that and I switched it off after 3 minutes. So that'd be torture.
Yeah, I've done that twice, and though that was twice too many. It there was I used to, and I remember even because when I did it, I was a kid. I used to listen to it over and over and over, and at the time I thought, this is great. And then slowly but surely, as the years went on, and your vision, I suppose, as a performer is sort of broadened, and you listen to more works by different people, and you take in different shows when you go down to visit London, and then slowly but surely, my love for Joseph very quickly turned to loathing. Just stopped. He stopped being interesting very quickly.
Did you play Joseph himself, or?
No, I did. So do you remember? Did you ever see the Jason Donovan version where there was those kids in the t-shirts, all just wearing white t-shirts, singing the backing?
Was this the one that was filmed in the? It was the film version of it where it was like a school hall. Yeah, that's the one I switched off, unfortunately.
In a makeshift cage, singing "Close Every Door." So they did a national tour of it, and I was one of the kids in the white t-shirt.
Wow.
You used to have to sit at the side of the stage singing all the backing vocals.
So you've shared it
later on after that.
Shared a stage with the main man himself, Mr. Jason Donovan.
Yeah, H from Steps. H from Steps. I'm going big now.
H from Steps.
I'm going with the A-listers now, David. Those are the kind of names I'm dropping in this podcast. Yeah, and then I did it again in school, and I was Potiphar.
I
see you as a Potiphar.
Yeah, and I had a big crush on Mrs. Potiphar at the time as well. It sort of gave me a little more enjoyment out of doing the song. Well, there you go. Now, we've put the world to rights. We know where we'd all be, what soundtracks we'd be stuck with on a desert island.
Yeah.
We know what soundtracks we wouldn't want to be stuck with on a desert island. We've established that Emily wants to cry her way through isolation on this deserted place.
I would feel joy from crying. I want to make this clear. Like, I'm going to enjoy the music as I sob.
Oh, well, that's the main thing, I suppose, yeah.
Like,
happy crying, is it?
It's an enjoyable
Tears of joy at the music.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know that David would want to skip around with half a coconut on each foot and be uplifted. That's what we've established in episode 1. We've really put the world to rights.
Definitely a few bombshells in there, absolutely.
And nobody Google Callum Dunwell in Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. I made sure that was removed many years ago. The only person who has those newspaper clippings now is me. And I won't even show family members.
And an archive somewhere that's about to be blown wide open.
I don't think there's an archive. I don't think so. I hope not.
If there is, we'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining our debut episode of A Little Night Podcast. Please join us next week for episode 2, which is Battle of the Shows, hosted by myself, and we'll also have a couple of guest appearances on next week from some of our members. But thank you very much to Emily.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much to David.
Thank you for having me.
And I was Callum. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you next Monday night.